there at a convention I was at, and we started chatting and had a great time, hit it off, and they said, hey, you want to do something in Ruby? I'm like, sure. What's Ruby? And we got back to the States, and they sent me an email and said, we want you to play this character, Uncle Crow. I'm like, awesome. So while I can't like just, do everybody's, I do get lots of, emails from fans that have done something, like they're making a fan thing and they want to do, I can't do that. I mean, I do have to, I've got bills to pay and I've got responsibilities and I have to prioritize. Star Trek takes like 80% of my life because I'm not just playing Captain Kirk, like I run the show. I mean, I started it and I run it. So every decision goes through me. Stories, editing, production, casting, makeup, wardrobe, sets, lighting, bills to pay, leases on set, studios, all of that stuff. I find myself having to deal with all of that. So I don't have a lot of free time, but I love what I do. So there's really no thought of, well, I don't think this project is big enough for me. Your studio is not prestigious enough. Yes?
Is there any special skills or special things you have to do before you become a voice actor?
No. I wouldn't say a special school or schools or education or college courses, but I would say this. For those of you interested in voice acting, here's the two things that almost any voice actor will tell you are the keys to getting into voice acting. Number one, acting. The key word in voice acting is acting. I know that may be like, duh, Vic, right? But I say that because a lot of people think that it's about making funny voices or being able to imitate somebody that you've heard on television. I can sound just like Krusty the Clown from Simpsons. That's awesome that somebody's already playing that role. You see what I'm saying? Or I can imitate Yoda, or I can sound just like so-and-so from such and such. And that's really great. That's cool. But the thing about, but most voice actors that I know that work a lot, that you know by name, that have done a lot, have one major thing in common. They have a huge background in acting, in theater, in stage performance, or on-camera performance. Many of them have studied it for years, taken classes, gotten in place. So the first thing I would say to you if you're interested in voice acting is get into acting. Audition for school productions. Audition for community theater, audition for church productions, anything that you can develop your skills as an actor, because that's the most important thing. The second thing is you need to be where that kind of work is done. That's the harsh reality. I mean, you could be the greatest voice actor who ever lived, and if you live in Iowa, chances are you're not going to get many opportunities. That's just the reality of it. So the two things, acting experience and being in a location where opportunities are available are the most important things. Yes, sir.
What is the best bomb or prank someone's left you in the booth?
Oh, there are so many. I'll tell you two. One is from many, 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 many years ago. Anybody know a show called Rosaphon?
Yep.
Old school, like Mecha, big mech show.
Yeah.
And I played this character named, ironically, Mamoru, like the Tamaki actor. But this was long before Aorund. So I play this character, and he's this, he's part of this alien race. And I walked in one day, and the director said, "Okay, today is the day we find out that Mamoru is an alien. He's been disguised as a normal guy for the last 45 episodes or whatever. But now today, he's going to reveal that he's actually an alien from another world." So I get into the booth, and they bring up the first scene, and here he is in this weird kind of a gown thing. He's wearing like his alien uniform. And the director said, "Okay, you ready to do your first line?" I said, "Yeah." So I'm getting ready to record, and of course, anybody else that's already recorded, you can hear them in your headphones on playback. So as I was getting ready to record my first line, I hear Lucy Christian say, "My God, Vic Mignogna looks great in a dress." That was one of the first bombs I remember, and that's at least 12 or 13 years ago, probably. The second one is from Full Metal Brotherhood. Now, if you've heard this already, I apologize, but it's one of my favorites, so, when somebody asks you the question, that's the one that comes to your mind. As you know, Aaron Dismuke, who played Alphonse in the original series, grew up. He didn't sound like a 12-year-old boy anymore. When we did Full Metal Alchemist, the first series, there was no Brotherhood. So when they cast him, they thought it was a brilliant move, because here's a 12-year-old boy playing a 12-year-old boy. Right? Now, how perfect is that? And they didn't imagine that it would be some kind of a Bart Simpson thing, you know what I mean, where he'd need to sound that way for 20 years. So we did the first series, then we did the movie, and when we did the OVAs for the first Full Metal, Aaron was just starting to change. And it was, he was pushing it. And so when it came time to, when suddenly we found out they were making another series, he didn't sound like Aaron anymore. He didn't sound like Alphonse. He went from brother to brother. And so they had to find somebody else to play the role. And they were not going to make the same mistake again. Don't cast a kid anymore. Cast a girl, which is what they did in the original Japanese, right? And now we're both played by adult women, because then they could sound like that forever. You don't have to worry about their voice changing. So they cast a girl named Maxie Whitehead. Woo! Maxie is awesome, and I adore her. So I hadn't met her yet. We just started recording Brotherhood. And she had already been in to record, and I hadn't come in yet to start recording Ed. When I finally got in, she was gone. She was already recorded the first 3 or 4 episodes. She wasn't there. So I hadn't met her, and I was so excited to hear what she sounded like, right? I got Al in my, in my head, and I know Alphonse's voice. Aaron and I were very tight, very close. And I love him to this day. But I was really excited to see who they chose to play that role. So I started hearing her playback, and I'm like, wow, she sounds great. This is great. And within 10 minutes, we were in this episode where Ed and Al are leaving Winry's house. They're walking away, let's say you're the audience watching, and they're walking away, and Winry goes, "Don't forget to come back for dinner. Auntie Panaka's making stew." and Al turns around and goes, "Yay, stew!" and Ed goes, "Yeah." Yeah, okay, whatever. So Al says, "Yay, stew," right? Rah, rah. 2 flaps, 2 mouth flaps. Yay, stew! Trying to decide if I should tell you what she said or... Dude. I'm not going to do it because I'm a good boy. But here, I will do my best, okay? So we use what's called the beep method, which you may or may not know about. In order to start the line at the right time, you hear 3 beeps. Boop, boop, boop. And where the 4th one should be is where you start speaking, for sync purposes. So I'm getting ready to record Ed's, yeah, whatever. And and what Maxie recorded, sorry, I fully expect to hear Maxie go, "Yay, stew!" Right? So here, I'm getting ready to record, and I hear, boop, boop, boop. And before I get my line out, I hear her go, "Futs, yeah!" That's not what she said. You get the picture. And the moment I heard it, I was like, oh my gosh, I love this girl. She's so funny. And we had a wonderful time. We had a wonderful time. She stepped into some big shoes. And I'm not talking about the armor. You know what I mean? People loved Al, and Aaron did an amazing job with Al. So they knew that they had a monster challenge ahead of them to cast somebody that could step into that role and that the fans would accept and appreciate. And even for the first several weeks when Brotherhood hit broadcast, she called me once. And she said, I'm getting hate mail. What? Yeah, Maxie called me and she said, I'm getting like emails and postings wherever about people saying how much they hate what I'm doing and that I should just die and I shouldn't be a voice actor. I mean, what is wrong with people?
I know.
Right? You know, I'm going to use this moment to do something that I promised myself I was going to do every chance I get. When Free was announced, and they started announcing the cast for Free, some of you may or may not know that there were a handful of people that started posting a bunch of very hateful, mean stuff about me. That I shouldn't be cast, blah, 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 all kinds of garbage. Lies and slander. I was more hurt than angry. Because I've spent 16 years, done over 300 conventions. I love you guys. I've never been cruel to a fan. I've never been mean to a fan. I've never been, angry or abusive. And yet, there are people out there that are so desperate for attention that they will do or say anything to try to get a rise out of people. And what's really sad is that they're in the vast minority. I mean, there are very few of them compared to all the good people. But they make so much damn noise. And that's the problem. They're the vocal minority. They don't in any way represent the 98% of great people. But the great people don't do anything. They don't talk. They don't say much. They're not vocal. They're good, normal people. They go about their lives. They're kind. They're friendly. But these other hateful kind of people are loud and militant, and you know what I mean. And they get everywhere. They're like ants. You know what I mean. They just pop up on threads everywhere, blogs everywhere. So I want to ask you guys to do something. I've asked thousands of people in settings just like this ever since the free announcement took place, which was right at about a year ago now, last November. I would like to ask you guys to join me and join thousands of other people to do something. If and when you ever see that kind of thing posted, here's what I want you to do. You ready? Be a voice for good. Be a voice for light and love and encouragement and positive reinforcement. God knows there are a lot of mean voices out there nowadays. And there's so many more of you than there are of them. But you're all polite and nice and you don't, you know what I mean? You don't say anything. Oh, isn't it really too bad how all those mean things they just posted? Say something. There's a very famous quotation. The only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing. You're the good people. Okay? So I want you guys, when you see that kind of thing, just be a voice for positivity. I'm not talking about getting in fights. I'm not encouraging people to get into some kind of arguments. Just be a voice for good. Spread some positivity. Because you know what? I love the anime industry and the fan base. You guys are the best. Believe me. I'm not making this up. I've done a lot of events, and I've been attending conventions even as a fan. When I was a little boy, I had my Captain Kirk uniform, and I would go to Star Trek conventions, and then Star Wars conventions.